Okay, so if I talk about certification part, so these are the certification part. And what we are going to cover combined one certification, that is a PCNSA we are going to cover, and PCNSC. Apart from the advanced troubleshooting, we are going to cover PCNSA and PCNEC both. Okay, in this particular course. So if you go for all these certifications, so basically that is covering your deployment part, troubleshooting part, and understanding the Palo Alto networks operating system. Okay, and also any kind of troubleshooting. This is supporting these both certification would be supporting the troubleshooting part as well. If I go to why we should use Palo Alto, so Palo Alto is a market leader nowadays. It is a next generation firewall feature. Okay, so when I say next generation firewall feature, so it is supporting the VPN, app control, intrusion prevention system, antivirus, URL filtering, sandboxing, and SSL inspection. Okay, so all these feature is supported by this firewall. Okay, so when I say firewall slash VPN, that means it can filter the traffic based on the source and destination. Also, it can do the content inspection. Okay, where it would be able to see that whether the content is malicious or content is not malicious, and based on that, it would take the decision to allow that kind of content. And the Palo Alto firewall also supporting data loss prevention feature. So if there is any sensitive data and just you want to prevent that those sensitive data should not go out to your organization, so you can go for DLP feature. And this firewall is supporting standalone management. That means you can manage this firewall directly using web GUI or using a CLI, or you can manage this also you can manage the device. The architecture of the Palo Alto firewall is supporting SP3 architecture, which is known as a single pass parallel processing, which makes this firewall very fast. I would discuss next in the next slide what is a single pass parallel processing. Okay, so this is the SP3 architecture. This is not supported in any other firewall. Other firewall would be doing a serial processing, but this firewall is capable to do the parallel processing. The Palo Alto firewall support a dedicated CPU for the management plane and dedicated CPU for data plane. So when I say dedicated CPU, that means CPU and memory both would be separate for the management plane and both and data plane. So it would be segregated. So for example, due to XY reason, let's say DOS attack happened to your firewall or maybe in your organization where data plane utilization is really very high. The CPU of the data plane went 100%. Just because of that, let's say your firewall gets hanged. So normal firewall get hanged, okay, or maybe rebooted. But in case of Palo Alto firewall, that would not reboot it or not hang. You can still manage the firewall using a management plane, because management plane would be separate from the data plane. Same way, let's say you are doing any log analysis, or just because of that management plane gone very high utilization, okay, or when you are doing a dump and the management plane got very high utilization, but that is not affecting your data plane. So this is another good feature of the Palo Alto firewall, which making this firewall very robust in terms of the operational things. And also this firewall you can use on premises, okay, in for your data center, and if you have data center in the cloud, you can use this firewall there as well. It is supporting central log collection, so all the logs of all the gateway you can send to the central location, that is a Panorama, and from Panorama you can integrate any syslog server or any SIM server where you can send all the logs. So these are the some of the why, just because of Palo Alto being is used in the organization, right? So all those feature which is next generation firewall feature, this firewall is supporting. And apart from that, there are other things just because of this firewall is being used. Any question on this slide?
This you said DLP. So which feature enables DLP?
So in DLP, basically DLP, it is supporting under the security profile. So in the security profile, you can create a DLP rule, okay, and based on that DLP rule, you can call uh, in the uh, what I say, in the rule itself. Okay, so in the access rule itself, you can call the DLP profile. So same way, like you are creating the intrusion prevention profile, right? And you are creating antivirus profile. So same way you can create a DLP profile there. And yes, you can call that DLP profile in the firewall rule itself. Okay. So if I say the feature, that's a DLP feature itself in the Palo Alto firewall.
Okay.
Yeah. Now moving to next, this is the traditional multi-pass architecture. Okay. And this is a single pass architecture that is supported by Palo Alto. So if I talk about multi-pass architecture, let's go here. If I talk about multi-pass architecture, so this is a multi-pass architecture. You can see that there are different modules in the firewall policy module, URL filtering module, IPS module, AB module. And let's take example of any traditional firewall. So whenever the packet hit to the firewall, basically on the packet packet hitting, it is going to check layer 2, layer 3 information, okay, high configuration information, management reporting information for the firewall filtering policy. Now after checking this, based on the traffic, port is going to check into the firewall policy, and let's say port is allowed. After that, the traffic would go to next module where the same checking would happen again, okay, which was happened over here in a single pass, sorry, in a multi pass. So same checking is happening again. Your URL filtering module, again it is checking layer 2, layer 3 information, HA information, config management reporting, etc. And let's say after that, port protocol based checkup, it would happen, HTTP decoding would happen over here, and URL filtering policy is checking whether the URL which user is trying to browse is allowed or not. Let's say that is allowed, but in the URL there could be malicious content. For malicious content, you have IPS policy here or antivirus policy. So again, the traffic would go to the IPS module, and same checks happen in the IPS module again. Okay. This is making the traditional firewall. You can talk about any particular firewall. If you talk about Checkpoint or any other firewall, so they would be doing a multi-pass processing. This is a multi-pass architecture where packet same checks is going to repeat as each point over each point. But in Palo Alto cases, Palo Alto is supporting single pass architecture, that a single pass software. So when packet come to the firewall, all these things, application ID, user ID, and content ID, and especially networking part as well, that would check once in one go. Okay. So app ID engine, user ID engine, content ID engine, and networking, all these policy engine would work once on the particular packet. And to support this, we have the parallel processing hardware. So we have control plane, which is management, and we have data plane. So in data plane, networking part, security part, and content filtering part would be taken care by this parallel processing hardware that Palo Alto is supporting. So single pass is a software which perform the operation once per packet, okay, like networking function, policy lookup, application identification, decoding, signature matching, any threat checks, it would be doing in once in single go. And to support all these functions, we have parallel processing hardware as well. Okay, so we have a separate hardware for the management and separate hardware for the data plane. You can see here. So this architecture is making Palo Alto firewall is really very fast, and just because of that, the Palo Alto is very fast in terms of the packet processing. If I talk about this is our lab, let me just try to access any of the firewall, and let me show you the some option here, and probably you can ask later that what all the security feature it have. So default default username is admin and password is admin. Okay, I have changed the username and password, and I just want to configure this so that I can access the management of this Palo Alto firewall. So I'm running this command, set device config, system type is static. I would just want to define a static IP, and now I would define IP. System is for the management IP, okay? So I'm putting IP address, which is 10.1. And net mask is 255.255.255.0. Let's commit this. And I'm trying to access from here, from this workstation. So if you talk about security perspective, so we have different types of policy here. Okay. So we can create a firewall policy, that is this is the thing. Okay. We can create net policy. From here we can create a quality of service policy. We can do policy based routing. We can do encryption decryption. We can do any inspection of the tunnel traffic. We can apply custom application signature we can create. We can define authentication. Okay, and we can define the DOS protection. So these are the things which we can apply. But if you click on this object option, we have these kind of security profile. We have the security profile for antivirus, where you can detect the virus from any of the sources, whether that is coming via HTTP or HTTP version 2, SMTP or IMAP or POP3 or FTP or SMB. Any these stream would be, I mean, if the traffic is coming from any these stream or through any these protocol, antivirus would be able to detect the viruses. Then we have anti-spyware. So spyware, it is a program to spy the server, where the CNC connection would be made between client and server. So if you want to prevent them, so we have anti-spyware, using which we can protect the spyware connections. Then vulnerability protection we have. This is for the IPS profile. So you can create the IPS profile as per your choice, where you can define that what is the criticality of the particular vulnerability and what decision it should take. So here if you go, you have the option. If there is any vulnerability which is critical and that is a client side vulnerability, so what the action it is going to take. So action is mentioned here, default action means this is going to take the decision as per signature. I mean, whatever the signature in define in the firewall, based on that it is going to take the decision. But you can mention that any critical, it should reset the connection on the client side, server side, or block the IP. Whatever you want to decide, you can decide. So these are the security features we have, which is kind of advanced feature. And these profile you can call either on the entire rule or you can call on a specific rule. So from here you can create the security profile where you can define what the traffic should be allowed. So for example, if I put test traffic and I say source any, destination any, okay, and user any, when the traffic is coming or whether traffic is going, in any cases, it should check the antivirus. So from here we can call the profile, specific profile we can call, or we can call all profiles. So for example, I just want to call antivirus profile. So this is the antivirus profile. This is vulnerability protection profile. So I can call those profile over here. So I can define profile based on the rule specific. Okay. And those logs I can send to the on the local system, or we can send to the syslog server. If we have any syslog server, we can send those logs there. So I think these are the advanced, feature we have in the Palo Alto firewall. We have the data loss prevention feature, right? So using which you can create DLP profile. Here we have DLP. So let's say I just want to protect that any credit card information should not pass through our network. So we can click on add. Here we can define the profile, and then we can add the data pattern. Okay. So we can define predefined data pattern. We can take CC data, and here we can take the type of predefined data pattern where we can add the credit card information or any other information. These are the predefined data pattern. So let's say I'm just putting credit card number. So if there is any credit card number is going to be sent, okay, from my organization. So definitely if I call this profile into the rule, if I go to policy, and this is the policy rule. So using that particular rule, whether the traffic is incoming or outgoing, this is the data filtering rule we have, where we have called that profile. So if this rule is active, okay, nobody can send or receive the credit card information, okay, because that's sensitive information we have. So this is the feature we have. We can protect the firewall alone, and we can also protect the resource behind the firewall using DOS protection. So if there is any resource behind the firewall, we can create a DOS protection profile and we can protect against. So let's say there is a server which is behind the firewall. So for that, we can create a rule where I can define the source is, let's say, coming from the internet, destination is my server. So what DOS protection options we have? Okay, here we can define the profile. Yeah, you were asking something, Vicky.
Actually, in case this DLP or any traffic which is already encrypted, this will not work, or we have a provision.
Yeah, this will not work if the traffic is encrypted. So definitely that is not work. So for that we have to decrypt the traffic over here. We have to define decryption profile. Obviously, you would see that nowadays 70 or 75% traffic is encrypted traffic in any organization. So for that you have to define decryption profile. Where two certificate is going to be issued. One is between Palo Alto firewall to actual destination, and the other certificate is between Palo Alto firewall to the user. So let's say you are the user and you are trying to access, like, let's say hdfc.com, where you just want to update your credit card information. Okay. So if you have selected that any financial category website should be also encrypted, decrypted, in that case you have to use the certificate based certificate. So Palo Alto is going to give you certificate. So between you and Palo Alto certificate, there would be all the traffic would be encrypted, but there would be another connection is going to create in between Palo Alto to the actual destination. Okay, so that would be also encrypted, but the Palo Alto would be able to intercept the traffic. And yes, for that you have to create a decryption profile. So not only you can do the decryption in the normal firewall, you can only do the encryption for the HTTP traffic. But here you can do the decryption for the HTTP traffic and as well as SSH traffic. So if you see the decryption profile, this would be supporting, different types of decryption as well. It is supporting HTTP, HTTPS, all types of decryption this is supporting.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is really very good firewall, okay, because they are providing high-end model and all those feature as well, okay. And yeah, if you manage this firewall through Panorama, so this is really very easy to manage the enterprise network and protect them.
Okay, so what about like threats? And like what kind of threats are running on those traffic?
So as I told you, the threat they have divided into three, few category. Threat would be coming through the virus as well. Threat would be coming from the spyware as well. Threat would be coming via via any kind of vulnerability in the organization. Okay, or threat may be coming using file system. So any kind of threat which is coming, the sandboxing is wildfire over here. Okay, in the firewall. So any
What
kind of,
is this wildfire?
this is the wildfire, and this is known as this is a sandbox of Palo Alto firewall. So when I say
Okay. So,
sandbox, sandbox, right? What is the
yeah,
task of the sandbox? To protect
yeah,
against zero-day attack, right?
yes.
Yeah. So
So
any,
this wildfire, we have to take separate subscription, which is there on cloud, right?
I mean, with the you have to take that separate subscription. Yes, Netaji, you were asking something. So go ahead. Netaji, can you hear me? You raise your hand. You can ask the question. Okay, no problem. Yeah,
So
Vikas.
Amar,
Mhm.
this one, a vulnerability protector, it is like IPS, right?
It's a
IPS software.
IPS. It's IPS itself. Here it is known as a vulnerability protection because the same work IPS does, right? It
Yeah.
it is protecting against client side and server side vulnerability. So yes, the same thing this vulnerability protector is doing.
I can like apply signature as per like CV or no some different CVs.
Yes, yes. As per CV, you can apply the signature, and if there is any signature which is making blocking the traffic just because of any false positive, okay,
Mhm.
so you can put the exception as well for that particular signature.
Okay. So we will we'll be doing those particular thing here in our session, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
these things.
we are doing that.
And we'll be able to see the reports also and
Yeah,
take action
report.
as
Yes. So if
yeah.
you go to
Eval-
device,
We'll be validating these features, security features, and then we'll be blocking them and enabling them, putting exception.
yeah, right, we will doing that. So we
Okay.
have this reporting section, so we can create different types of report as well.
Mm, okay. And we'll be doing VPNs
Yeah,
and
VPNs also we are doing. So
HA.
yes. So yeah, I haven't shown you the syllabus that we are going to cover over here.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, let me just show you. Meanwhile, yeah, Netaji, you were asking something. Go ahead. Course. This is the Palo Alto.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I wanted to ask, you're connecting with Palo Alto, this Firewall, right? So at starting, and starting slide, you were saying that you are gonna give us a certification something.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I mean, I was telling you that what we are covering in this particular course. So we are covering the
Mm,
course which is in the PCNSA and PCNSC on these
okay.
certification. So we are covering the course according to these two certification.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, are you gonna certify us?
Yes.
If we we and how much this is
So
for 90 minutes, right?
yeah, it's 90 minutes, and according to there is a 75 question or 50 question you would
Uh-huh.
be getting.
So,
Okay. So it's a 90-minute
so I
course.
can
Mhm.
so I can ask this much question. Is that you're trying to say, right?
Yes, right.
Uh, okay. So we are, I'm in Qatar right now, and one of my clients in Qatar is there. I saw this Palo Alto. I don't know, the switch or something. I just to the box. So I decided to try this
Sorry,
Palo Alto.
this is a little bit difficult to understand me. Okay, so uh, yeah, please.
Let me introduce myself. Sir,
Mhm.
please 1 minute. I'm just started my career into IT. I have just started CCNA. and I want to completely come into this IT Palo Alto Firewall, what is this, okay, networking and everything. So is this the right doing this course, which is okay for me, right? And
Yeah,
just entered. I'm just networking and just
yeah, I
someone.
understood. I understand that thing. Okay, basically here we have the corporate student. Okay, so basically I'm also working in somewhere in the corporate itself, a part of implementation team. So whatever we are going to teach you, we are not going to teach you in the scenario like classroom scenario. We are going to take some live scenario, okay, that what in the industry right now, okay, and we discuss according to that, okay. So if you have started your career in the firewall, whether you have already experience on firewall or not, we are going to start from the scratch and going up to the advanced level, okay, with covering a different type of scenario, okay, what would be the in the organization, okay, what the problem you would be getting when you are doing a kind of organization work or enterprise work. So that thing we are going to discuss in this particular course, okay, that scenario. So rest assured that, I mean, we are not teaching you as a classroom, we are teaching you as a live scenario.
Okay, I got it. I got it. But I'm telling you that I have a zero knowledge in this
That
firewall.
doesn't matter, but you have the knowledge of, you have knowledge of network, right? You understand IP
Yeah,
address.
yeah, I know networking. I have,
Yeah, so
in
in
the
that
last
case,
past 2 years.
I mean, everyone, I mean, if I talk about myself, I have started my career in the network itself, and now I'm in different part. I'm doing the load balancer, I'm doing the firewall, I'm doing the cloud. So everyone, if you have the understanding, IP address, so definitely any net with the any networking and understanding, yeah, they can understand a different type of attack as well. So it is not any weakness that you have just knowledge of network, okay, you don't have knowledge of the attack, don't worry, we are going to take on that.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And when it is gonna be today or
so tomorrow we have the class, okay, today kind of
tomorrow?
demo.
Okay, tomorrow.
Yeah,
What time, sir?
it's the same time, 9 p.m.
Same time. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. Thank you.
okay,
I'll be prepared. I'll be
yeah,
ready.
no problem, no problem. So this is the course content we have right now, okay, where we are going to cover the platform, where we talk about single pass, parallel pass, closure logic, packet capture, etc. Initial configuration we are going to do. Then we are going to talk about the interface configuration, where we will talk about different types of interface in the Palo Alto. Okay, layer 2, layer 3, sub interface, DSCP, netting
Oh,
policy, app ID, content ID, file blocking, wildfire decryption, user ID, site to site, management reporting, active HA. So all these things we are going to talk. Okay. So you
okay,
just
okay.
go here and you can check the, uh, you know, check the course. I don't know, I can send the message, but yes, if you go to our website, you can check the course content.
What is your website, sir? Can you send it to our this thing,
I
message
would, I would
chat?
ask, I would ask Joya to share this.
Okay. In the WhatsApp also. It's
Yes,
fine.
yes, she is
Actually,
going to share over the
we just
WhatsApp.
chatted. Okay, sir. Thank you. What's your
Yeah.
good name, sir?
Amar, Amar Kumar.
Amar. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Amar Kumar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all I have for this demo. If you have any question, you can ask me, else we can wind up this call.
No, okay, sir. I'll waiting for tomorrow.
Okay,
I want to
great.
see what it is.
No problem. Because your side?
Amar, can we do this continuously in the weekdays also?
Weekdays a little difficult, but we can look on that.
Okay. Yeah, then we can in a week or so we can.
I mean, there is some issue I can tell you, because I'm working somewhere. Okay, so sometimes it's very difficult for me to manage the class on the weekdays. Okay, but yeah,
If it
on the
is
weekend.
like once in a while, it's okay. Means if it is regularly, it's difficult. Then
Yeah,
there's no
it's a
need.
regularly. It's sometimes it's a. I mean, a kind of implementation. I did some project, let's say, and on that I got some problem. Okay, so the people, I mean, there is some problem on that project. So people used to call me that, okay, this is a project, only you have the knowledge, you can resolve that issue. So sometimes my call get extended and I used to miss the classes. So I don't want to make this kind of stuff. That's why
Okay.
I have chosen this weekdays. Sorry, weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, okay, just see if we can do it. I think we were discussing with Joy also.
Mhm.
If other batchmates are okay, then like, and you are fine, then we can do it in
Yeah,
weekdays
yeah,
also.
yeah, yeah. That's fine.